I'd love to think that I'm past my bouts with anxiety, or I'd love to think that I'm so deeply aligned and in love with what I'm doing that it really makes absolutely no difference whether or not I get any sort of recognition for it. And then, real quickly, in a million different ways, in a million different versions of the scenario, I remember that I'm human. And isn't that the point? To come up against ourselves and rediscover and remember our truth in a million different ways. Help Me See is a podcast dedicated to the art of seeing. It's a space for the restless visionary with an insatiable desire to create the life and work you're meant for. My name is Bianca Leah Mora, and I'm a photographic artist, a mother, and a coach who's transformed my fear of loss into power, art, and philosophy. One of the scariest quotes I never want to say is, "I wish I knew at the time." But I truly believe that we have the innate ability to bring our wise 2020 hindsight to our now. You can deeply experience your nostalgia now while it's actually happening with no regrets. All you have to do is see. In this show, we laugh, we cry, we get inspired, we overshare. We have life-changing conversations around making meaning, self-discovery, and shedding all of the BS layers in order to reconnect to our own sacred vision. Seeing yourself is an essential key to living powerfully. You are the vessel, the lens that filters absolutely everything in your life. What are you filtering for? Whether it be conversations with fellow artists and visionaries or my solo audio journal style introspective ramblings, each episode is meant to feel like an exhale, an unraveling of truth, a moment for you to be able to put your finger on something that you haven't been able to for far too long. Come exactly as you are. It's perfect. Honor your instincts. Let's uncover some of the most important things in our lives, which all too often can slip out from our view. Let's commit to seeing and consciously creating what only you can in your one and only life. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Help Me See. I am coming to you the night before I go back home. I've been away on work for like a week and a half, and I'm ready. I'm ready to go home. I miss my kids. I definitely was very fragile this trip. Just one of those weeks where you cry a lot, not sure why you feel like you're walking around and can be just blown over by someone that breathes on you. I talked to my kids tonight before going to bed, and they were so emotional and overtired and crying and wanting their mommy. And, no matter how cognitively you understand why and how and if it's right and this and that, I feel like there's always that tinge. There's always that tinge of guilt. There's always that doubt. There's always that second guess of, am I doing the right thing? And, I think it's healthy. We change so much. We change our minds. We grow. We discover. We experience. And I know for me, at least, I so badly want to discover like, it's almost like a static way of being. Like, I want to just, it feels like I have to uncover something. And once I uncover it, then I'll know it. And then everything else will be easier, but it's just not the case. So I finished reading this book, the one that I've been mentioning on the past 5 podcast episodes, Drinking from the River of Light, The Life of Expression by Mark Nepo. And I want to read this piece that I found to be so freaking beautiful. So he gives this example about how the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, there was this moment where someone was whipping a horse, and he describes it as, in that moment, there was nothing between him and the pain of the horse being whipped. So he ran to the horse, throwing his arms around its neck to protect it. Then he collapsed and never recovered. Some regard this event as embarrassing, and yet it just might be his crowning moment of integrity. It goes on to say, I find it beautiful and heartbreaking that all the vast and tenacious thinking of such a prodigious mind should undo itself quite naturally and poignantly into the compassionate act of protecting a horse from being whipped. All his deep thinking led him in that moment to stand between the whip and the whipped. Isn't this the aim of all writing, of all art? When we can say yes and throw our arms around the hurt one's neck, then what feels necessary stuns us with its splendor. For all Nietzsche wrote, that one fully lived moment was the poem of his life. Oh, for all of his life's work, that one fully lived moment was the poem of his life. It goes on to say, who knows what this moment is for each of us and when it will appear. Yet I believe that the practice of integrity, the practice of love and truth, and the commitment to a life of expression, whatever its form, help ready us for this moment of becoming the poem. Inevitably, life is a journey of moving in and out of the light, of falling off course and steering your way back to center. If this is so, then freezing a moment of being on course and calling that success, and freezing a moment of falling off course and calling that failure are useless distinctions. Neither helps us to see or engage the practice of being awake in the stream of life. Once discovering that we are constantly in process, that we are constantly unfolding, the goal is not to solidify our character and views, but to stay devoted to how we and what we think and feel evolve. This reminds me of how just as I know, there is no getting there or achievement pinnacle in terms of picture taking or achievement. It reminds me, that there is no end to this desire to become the most myself. For instance, this year, my word for the year is centered. And I just crave so badly to feel this deep level of peace and centeredness in life in general. But I actually never really thought about that being a moving target. You know how you just make things different? Sometimes it's oh, why is this so easy in all of these areas of my life? And then for some reason, this area is so difficult. It's all the same, but there's these different interesting ideas and stories we have about where we are the exceptions to against the rules or where there are constraints that are just immovable. I think there's a general narrative around conquering something and moving past things in life, and you get humbled real quick. You know, I'd love to think that I'm past my bouts with anxiety, or I'd love to think that I'm so deeply aligned and in love with what I'm doing that it really makes absolutely no difference whether or not I get any sort of recognition for it. And then, real quickly, in a million different ways, in a million different versions of the scenario, I remember that I'm human. And isn't that the point? To come up against ourselves and rediscover and remember our truth in a million different ways. I went down by the water by the Golden Gate Bridge where I used to go all the time with Tyson, my dog, who's passed when we lived here. And it's now been like 3 years since he passed. And I know that it's not something to get over. I know that some days are harder than others, but it's been a long time. It had been a long time since I really cried about it. But as I sat there and thought of him, I watched a dog who was having a stick thrown into the water and swimming out, and it made me remember him and how we used to do that. And so I went and I looked in my phone photo scroll and just uncovered a couple of pictures of him exactly where I was sitting. And a little video of us running on that path that I was right by. And it brought me to my knees. Oh my God. I mean, I wasn't just tearing up like I am now. I was like tears dripping off my nose behind my sunglasses. Oh God, it just took the wind out of me. It felt really impossible that he's not here. And why? And although I can be perplexed about how strong the emotion comes back at whatever time it decides to or just comes up, I definitely am not hard on myself for the grief I feel and the sadness I feel over losing him. So why is that different than when I get into a spiral of anxiety? Why can I not exercise that same compassion that I have for myself in the grieving when I'm having an anxious moment or a scared moment? Where are you harder on yourself in life? Where are you softer with yourself in life? And if it's hard to look at, try to neutralize it. Try to think about how none of it means anything. It's all just information. And then what are you going to do with that information? Maybe what are you going to do is a little too intense because that requires an action. Let's make it even simpler. What might you do? What could you do? I wonder how much faster I would be able to pull myself out of a bout of anxiety if I just decided to be really gentle and caring and soft with myself instead of, what the fuck is your problem? You're a mom of two. Stop being so scared. Get it together. Like, what? It sounds pretty wild to say it out loud. The things that you think in your head. God, we're such assholes to ourselves. What might happen if we spent a quarter of the amount of energy that we spend being good, intentional, conscious humans with our children, with our pets, with our friends, with our loved ones, with our work, with our clients? What might we have the capacity for if we turned some of that love that we share with others to ourselves? I don't know. I'm asking for a friend. I don't know. Gosh. There's so many times when I'm photographing people. I just had a brand identity portraiture session this weekend. And there's just so many times where I'll be taking pictures and I just think, oh my gosh. Like, I'm just in awe of the beauty of a person. It feels like when I'm photographing someone, I have like X-ray vision in this weird way. I don't know. But I don't know that I've ever. Oh, yeah. So I think that, like, oh my gosh, I'm in awe of this person and basically fall in love with anyone I take photographs of. And then just wish so badly that the photographs can you have even the slightest influence on them over how lovingly they may view themselves. But it kind of feels hypocritical, right? If we're not doing that for ourselves as well. I think I've gotten there in some ways. And, well, at the moment. And in others, I just never even think. It's not that I think to myself, oh, I could be kind and I'm not. I'm withholding love from myself. But the problem to me is that it doesn't even occur to me in those moments. So I wonder how we dance with that. I think when Mark Nepo is writing, he does such an amazing job at reminding us over and over again that there is no there. It is just this cyclical remembering and forgetting and recentering and opening. And the good news is that through his brilliant writing and beautiful mind and soul and heart. After reading that book, I find so much comfort. I don't know how accepting yet, but so much comfort in the fact that he explicitly says that the most important things are just unspeakable, they're unsayable, unnameable, and in our best efforts, all we're doing is pointing to it. And I love that. And it helps me lower my shoulders from my ears. And I think, oh, okay. What if I take that expectation and that weight off of me of trying so hard to land on the correct way to explain it and to put my finger on exactly what it is, and just rest into the knowing that all we're ever doing is pointing to something that is so true and so beautiful, whether it's with our finger or our cameras or our pens or our whatever the craft is, our paintbrush, our cooking, our homemaking, whatever it is, we're pointing to the most important things in our lives. I'm sitting in a closet right now because the city noises are so loud, so loud. And I feel like if I had a picture of myself right now, I'd be like, am I okay? Am I okay? Maybe I'll take a selfie before I leave this room and share it somewhere to do with this podcast episode. God help me. Okay. I'm tired. I'm so tired. And I'm sad. I don't really know what I'm sad about, but I'm sad. And I'm eager to get home tomorrow. I'm happy that I have a lot of beautiful photos to edit on my trip home from that brand identity shoot. And I so look forward to Sacred Seeing this week. Sacred Seeing is our monthly membership for creatives to come together and have conversations like this, to have time set aside to work on their work and to connect with themselves and other like-minded souls. And if you're interested in learning more, go ahead and click the link in the bio and feel free to DM me if you have any questions about it. Okay, I guess maybe that's the clincher for this one. Those times where we get the most frustrated with ourselves or our work, and we're looking and aching to find the answer or the deeper meaning or the purpose or see the vision clearly, we could find solace in the fact that we can never orchestrate that. We can never arrive. The goal is there is no goal, but the thing is continuing to evolve and meets life inside of it. There is no there. There's only here, right now. And right now, I'm going to get off the floor of this closet, climb under the covers, and go to bed. Thank you for joining me in my melancholy closet talk. I look forward to coming to you next week from the comfort of my dark basement at home with my wild and crazy boys. Until then, I wish I could give you a big, dramatic hug, because if you've made it to the end of this episode and you've listened to this, you are my counterpart, and I know I need a hug, so you might be needing one too. Take some time. Get that book, please. Please get this book. Drinking from the River of Light, The Life of Expression by Mark Nepo. It's one of the best books I've ever read. And it's brought me so much comfort, and I feel so seen. I feel so seen. Have a beautiful night.
This has been an Awkward Sage production.